Get out of a mental rut. Think new thoughts. Acquire new visions. Discover new ambitions. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I have linked all the information to the book down below if you're interested in reading more. And let's get started. So the very first lesson that I got from this book was a quote from Herbert Spencer, saying, "For the great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. If you teach a man anything, he will never learn. Learning is an active process. We learn by doing. If you don't apply what you learn, you will quickly forget it. Only knowledge that is used sticks in your mind." And I think we find this all the time where we will read a book, and sometimes I will read a book and I have so many notes on it. And when I go back and read my notes, I'll be like, wow, I forgot so much of this because I never actually implemented it into my life. There was a world famous psychologist that he mentioned, B.F. Skinner, and through experiments realized that when animals were rewarded with good behavior, they will learn a lot more rapidly and retain what is learned far more effectively than an animal who is punished for bad behavior. Later studies have shown that the same applies to humans. By criticizing, we do not make lasting changes and often incur resentment. As much as we thirst for approval, we dread condemnation. The author asks, do we have someone in our lives that we would like to change and regulate and improve? And if you do, that's great. That's wonderful. I'm in all favor for it, is what he says. But why not begin with yourself? And he says that improving yourself actually is a lot more profitable than trying to improve others. And he's reminding us that we are not dealing with creatures of logic. We are dealing with creatures of emotions and prejudices and motivated by pride and vanity. And he says the secret of success is, I will speak ill of no man and speak all good I know of everybody. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. But it takes character and self-control to be understanding and forgiving. A good man shows his greatness by the way he treats little men. Instead of condemning, let's try to understand them. Let's try to figure out why do they do what they do. That's more profitable and intriguing than criticism, and it breeds sympathy, tolerance, and kindness. To know all is to forgive all. And he says a quote by Dr. Johnson that says, God himself, sir, does not propose to judge men until the end of his days. Why should I? So the first lesson is don't criticize, condemn, or complain. The second one is to give honest and sincere appreciation. And he says Dr. Dewey said that the deepest urge in human nature is the desire to be important, the desire to be great. When a study was made a few years ago on runaway wives, it talks about this in the book. What do you think was discovered to be the main reason that wives run away from home? And the answer that they found was actually a lack of appreciation. We often take our spouses so much for granted that we never let them know that we appreciate them. And then he talks about flattery. In the long run, flattery will do more harm than good. Flattery is counterfeit, like counterfeit money. What you need is appreciation. And what is the difference between appreciation and flattery? And the book states that it is simple. One is sincere and the other is insincere. One comes from the heart out and the other from the teeth out. One is unselfish and the other is selfish. One is universally admired and the other is universally condemned. Don't be afraid of enemies who attack you. Be afraid of friends who flatter you. Flattery, he says, is just cheap praise. Try leaving a friendly trail of little sparks of gratitude on your daily trips. Honest appreciation gets results where criticism and ridicule fail. Hurting people only does not change them. It is not called for. And it uses a quote that I also heard. I think it was from The Wealth That Money Can't Buy, which was the last episode. I can't remember if I actually mentioned this quote, but I believe I have the same quote in that book. I shall pass this way but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do, or any kindness that I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer, nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. Forget flattery, give honest, sincere appreciation, and people will cherish your words and treasure them and repeat them over a lifetime. Repeat them even after years that you have forgotten that you said them. The next lesson was to arouse the other person an eager want. So he says the only way on earth to influence other people is to talk about what they want and show them how to get it. Tomorrow you want to persuade someone to do something. Before you ask, pause and ask yourself, how can I make this person want to do it? If there is any one secret of success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle, as well as from your own. The world is full of people who are grabbing and self seeking. So the rare individual who unselfishly tries to serve others has an enormous advantage and has little competition. The author states if you just get one thing out of reading this book, it's an increased tendency to think always in terms of other people's point of view and see things from their angle. If you get that one thing from this book, it may easily prove to be one of the building blocks of your career. Be genuinely interested in other people. You make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can make in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. If we want to make friends, let's put ourselves out to do things for other people, things that acquire time, energy, selflessness, and thoughtfulness. If we want to make friends, let's greet people with enthusiasm. When somebody calls you on the telephone, use the same psychology. Say hello in tones that show you are pleased to have a phone call. Showing genuine interest in others not only wins friends for you, but may develop in its customers a loyalty to your company. If you want others to like you, if you want to develop real friendships, if you want to help others at the same time you want to help yourself, keep this principle in mind. The next one is smile. The author states that the expression one wears on one's face is far more important than the clothes one wears on one's back. Everyone in the world is seeking happiness, and there is one sure way to find it, and that is by controlling your thoughts. Happiness doesn't depend on outward conditions, it depends on inner conditions. It isn't about what you have, or who you are, or where you are, or what you are doing that makes you happy or unhappy. It is what you think about. An example he uses is two people may be in the same place doing the same thing and both have an equal amount of money, and yet one may be miserable and the other be happy. Why? Because of the different mental attitude. There is nothing in either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Most folk are about as happy as they make their minds up to be. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Most people don't remember names, for the reason that they don't want to take the time and energy necessary to concentrate and repeat and fix the names in their minds. One of the simplest, most obvious, and most important ways of gaining goodwill was by remembering names and making people feel important. And yet, how many of us do it? Half the time we are introduced to a stranger, we chat a few minutes and can't remember his or her name by the time we say goodbye. The name sets the individual apart. It makes him or her unique among others. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. I listened intently. I listened because I was genuinely interested, and he felt it. Naturally, that pleased him. That kind of listening is one of the highest compliments we can pay anyone. What is the secret, the mystery of a successful business interview? Exclusive attention to the people who are speaking to you. A lot of people don't want advice. They merely want a friend, a sympathetic listener. That's what we all want when we're in trouble. That is frequently all the irritated customer wants, and the dissatisfied employee or the hurt friend. If you want to know how to make people shun you and laugh at you behind your back and even despise you, here is the recipe. Never listen to anyone for long. Talk all about yourself. If you have any idea while the other person is talking, don't wait for him to finish or her to finish. Bust right in and interrupt in the middle of the sentence. Talk in terms of the other person's interest. All leaders know that the royal road to a good person's heart is to talk about the things he or she treasures most. Make people feel important and do it sincerely. He was talking about a story where he was complimenting someone, and a man asks him afterwards, "What did you want to get out of him?" And he asks himself, "What did I want to get out of him?" If we are so selfish that we can't radiate a little happiness and pass on a bit of honest appreciation without trying to get something out of the other person in return, we shall meet with failure we so richly deserve. The law is this: always make the other person feel important. Jesus summed it up in one thought. Probably the most important rule in the world. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Talk to people about themselves, and they will listen for hours. Show respect for the other's opinions. Never say you're wrong. So he was at a dinner party, and he actually corrected someone. And afterward, he states that I have come to the conclusion that there is only one way under high heaven to get the best of an argument, and that's to avoid it. 9 times out of 10, an argument ends with each of the contestants more firmly convinced than ever that he is absolutely right. You can't win an argument. You can't, because if you lose, you lose. And if you win, you lose. Why? Well, suppose you triumph over the other man. You show his argument full of holes and prove that he is wrong. Then what? You'll feel fine. But what about him? You have made him feel inferior. You have hurt his pride. He will resent your triumph. And a man convinced, against his will, is of the same opinion still. If you argue, you may achieve a victory sometimes, but it is an empty victory, because you will never get your opponent's goodwill. So figure it out for yourself. Would you rather have an academic, theatrical victory, or a person's goodwill? Buddha said, hatred is never ended by hatred, but by love. I believe that's also a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. Even killing a dog will not cure the bite. Our first natural reaction to a disagreeable situation is to be defensive. Be careful. Keep calm and watch out for your first reaction. It may be you at your worst, not your best. Control your temper. Remember, you can measure the size of a person by what makes him or her angry. Listen first. Give your opponents a chance to talk. Let them finish. Do not resist, defend, or debate. This only raises barriers. Try to build bridges of understanding. Don't build higher barriers of misunderstanding. Look for areas of agreement. When you have heard your opponents out, dwell first on the points and areas on which you agree. Be honest. Look for areas where you can admit error and say so. Apologize for your mistakes, and it will help disarm your opponents and reduce defensiveness. Promise to think over your opponent's ideas and study them carefully and mean it. Your opponents may be right. Thank your opponents sincerely for their interest. Anyone who takes the time to disagree with you is interested in the same things you are. Think of them as people who really want to help you. And you may turn your opponents into friends. Postpone action to give both sides time to think through the problem. Suggest that a new meeting be held later, that day, or the next day. Ask yourself hard questions. Could my opponent be right? Partly right? Is my reaction one that will relieve the problem, or will it just relieve any frustration? Will my reaction drive my opponents farther away, or draw them closer to me? Will I win or lose? What is the price I will pay if I will win? Is this difficult situation an opportunity for me? And if you tell them that they are wrong, do you think that will make them agree with you? Never, he says, for you have struck a direct blow to their intelligence, judgment, and self-respect. You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. Only one thing I know, and that is that I know nothing. You can say I may be wrong, and I frequently am. Let's examine the facts. Our first reaction to most of the statements we hear from other people is an evaluation or judgment rather than an understanding of it. I am convinced now that nothing good is accomplished, and a lot of damage can be done if you tell a person straight out that he or she is wrong. You can only succeed in stripping that person of self-dignity and making yourself an unwelcome part of any discussion. If you are wrong, admit it quickly and empathetically. So in this example, there was a young man who was working, and he would always give the manager or the boss something, and he'd always have trouble with it, right? And usually the man would be angry at the boss and, go back and do it again and repeat the process, basically. And the next time the boss was saying bad things about his work, he said, Mr. Boss, if what you say is true, I am at fault, and there is absolutely no excuse for my blunder. I have been doing drawings for you long enough to know better. I am ashamed of myself. I was at fault, and it was my responsibility to admit this. And in the story, the boss is like, oh, no, like, you did really good. He's like, maybe I was too harsh. When we are wrong, and that is surprisingly often, if we are honest with ourselves, let's admit our mistakes quickly and with enthusiasm. Let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers. They can't be forced or driven to agree with you or me, but they may possibly be led to, if you are gentle and friendly. Talk about what the customer wants. It doesn't pay to argue. Look at the other person's point of view. So he talks about the Socratic method, which is asking questions. Listen patiently and with an open mind. Let the other person do the talking. I didn't have to sell him anything. He bought. Remember that other people may be totally wrong, but they don't think so. Don't condemn them. Any fool can do that. Try to understand them. Only wise, tolerant, exceptional people try to do that. If you say to yourself, how would I feel? How would I react if I were in their shoes? You will save yourself time and irritation, for by becoming interested in the cause, we are less likely to dislike the effect. And in addition, you will sharply increase your skills in human relationships. Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. Say, I don't blame you for feeling as you do. If I were you, I would undoubtedly feel as you. I had the satisfaction of controlling my temper, the satisfaction of returning kindness for insult. Sympathy, and more sympathy. Throw down a challenge. The way to get things done is to stimulate competition. I do not mean in a sordid, money getting way, but in the desire to excel. Praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Be lavish in your praise. So, in this example, he is talking to, I believe it was his cousin or his niece, and she had made a mistake. And he told her that you had made a mistake, but the Lord knows it's no worse than many that I have made. You were not born with knowing all of this. This knowledge only comes with experience, and you are better than I was at your age. I've been guilty of so many stupid, silly things myself. I have very little inclination to criticize you or anyone. But don't you think it would be wiser if we had done it so and so? You can also say things like, I might consider this. Maybe if we phrased it this way, it would be better. Do you think this would work? Don't publicly humiliate or embarrass someone when they make a mistake or do something bad. Lift them up instead. Praise is like warm sunshine. Make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. 1. Be sincere. Don't promise anything that you cannot deliver. Forget about the benefits of yourself and concentrate on the benefits to the other person. 2. Know exactly what it is you want the other person to do. 3. Be empathetic. Ask yourself what it is the other person really wants. 4. Consider the benefits that person will receive from doing what you suggest. 5. Match those benefits to the other person's wants. 6. Make your request. Put it in a form that will convey to the other person the idea that he personally will benefit. And that is all I have on this book. I feel like this book is pretty popular, so if you have anything that I missed that stuck out to you, I would love to hear it. But that is all I have for today. I hope this is able to help you or someone you love, and I'll see you in the next one.